Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's album review. Today, we're going to be reviewing George Michael with his album Faith. So, let me show you the comments. So, it's from one of our regular contributors, Will CD, which I'll just read to you. So my request, Faith by George Michael. This was his debut solo album after the ending of Wham, the only album by a British to produce 6 top 5 singles in the same album in US, 4 of them in number 1. I love this album and was timeless, and it was her 35th anniversary this year. This album has a lot of variety, including R&B, jazz, rock, funk, and soul. I'm waiting particularly for your review about Father Figure, my favorite song of the album. So unique, sensual, spacey, haunting, and also has Middle Eastern music elements to it. George cited himself in an MTV interview that it's his most original sounding song of the album. It was originally an up-tempo dance song until the mixing of the album, where he removed the snare drums of the song and made the song into a mid-tempo R&B ballad in the final product. So lots of information there about the song Father Figure. So I hope you're going to like that one. So let me now show you the album itself. So just a second. Okay, so released in 1987, because it's considered a black inspired pop R&B album. What's black music? A sound created, produced, or inspired by black people. All right, okay. So yeah, genre pop, funk, R&B, synth pop, soul, rock, black-eyed soul. So let's just quickly find the tracks here, the songs. So we're going to do the standard edition. Here, it only has 9 songs to it, but they're quite relatively long, especially track 3, which has 2 parts to it. So Brett, first of all, tell us what you know about A, George Michael, and B, maybe even this album.
Okay. I don't want to go too much into George Michael. He is an artist. I know there's a lot of his stuff that I do know and like. I probably am more of a fan of his sort of later 90s kind of stuff. But in terms of, single artist stuff, there's probably other artists I know, I won't say like better, but probably I know sort of do like better than sort of George Michael, but like I said, I know I do like. In terms of this album, Faith, I know it is a popular, well-known album. I've never listened to it, and even looking at the tracks there, I would already recognise strongly probably one of the songs on there, which would be Faith. So, but I said, I know it's a top album. It's always, considered an album that always has to be in your collection and sort of things there. So I'll be looking forward to listening to this one.
Okay, so I'm not particularly familiar with George Michael. Obviously, he's very well known, and I do, of course, know the song "Faith," very well known song. But like you, I think that's the only song that I recognise on here. I'm quite intrigued by Father Figure based on the comment by Will CD. So looking forward to hearing that one as well. So yeah, I am interested in this. I think it's going to be an interesting one. It's obviously a very mainstream album. I don't think I'll be able to, sometimes we listen to albums and they're a little bit niche, maybe a bit more the kind of hard rock side, or I don't know, something that maybe doesn't appeal to everyone. But I think with George Michael, this particular album, I think it's, just mainstream, pretty much, for everyone kind of thing. Something for everyone to enjoy, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. for sure. So any final thoughts before we go off and listen to it, Brett?
Yeah, I was saying just on that last sort of note you were probably saying there. Like I said, I don't know about his early stuff. I know towards the sort of stuff that I like. I think with George Michael, he is a very sort of artistic kind of person as well. So I would probably say I think Faith is probably the one maybe sort of pop song, especially after the comments as well being put there. But Faith's probably that charty pop song. But I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the album's actually not so commercial in some guys and a bit different. I think we'll have elements of that. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that little thoughts into your head there as well, just in case you put down the wrong track.
Okay, so maybe could be a little bit.
I could be wrong.
Bit niche.
Could be
niche. Okay, let's see. So we're going to head off now, and we'll be back with you guys in a second. So we've now listened to the album. So, as usual, we're going to go straight over to Backstreet Brett, who will tell us what he thought of it.
I'll do my best. I don't think I said this in the introduction, but I was probably a little worried with this album, just purely because I think Faith is one of the big songs on there. And I'll be honest, I've never been a massive fan of the song Faith. Once we go and probably talk about the song, I'll go in more depth reason probably for that. But I have to say, by the end of the album, I really was impressed with this one. This felt like a proper 80s album. And the other thing I was worried about with all the hype, and now it's such a big album, and I just thought maybe maybe it's one of those albums we've listened to where you had to be part of the time, or it's more of a nostalgia best sort of album. But I have to say, what it is, I actually really quite enjoyed it. I do like the 80s music. I do like George Michael. Obviously, I'm a massive George Michael fan. But some of the stuff that I know of his that I do like. And this just felt like a proper 80s, a good bit of variation to it. I didn't look this up until after. I know we had a little look on Wikipedia, but I tend to not to take too much into that one. But then looking back and seeing that actually, 7 of the 9 songs of this album were actually released songs, and did work fairly well in the charts, mainly in the US. But I think would I say it was absolutely amazing? No, but I did really like it. I would happily listen to it again. 1 or 2 songs I would definitely put on a playlist. I think it was just a nice, good 80s album. I don't think I really can try and say too much than that, really.
Right, okay. So as for me, on my notes here. So, did I enjoy the album? Yes. Am I a converted George Michael fan? No. So let me explain what I mean by that. I say I enjoyed the album in the sense of I just felt, okay, sometimes when we listen to albums, they're very niche. Like, okay, the one that comes to mind is the previous album we did. Sorry for picking that one out, that really rocky one where it was constantly buzzing in my ears. That's just not for everyone. If you like that sort of music, you're going to like it. Whereas if this, it was kind of like what I said in the introduction, where I thought, well, how bad could this be? Kind of feel like it is just kind of 80s pop. I know you don't kind of warn me saying he is quite artistic. I don't think this particularly was like that artistic, really. I just think it was just, I don't know, 80s pop music, really. So in that sense, that's okay. Like to be honest, I'm not actually a huge 80s music fan. I like the 90s, I like the 70s, even the 60s. I don't know, the 80s, the stuff, the instrumentals, the sound of music's not really for me in general. There are plenty of exceptions, though, to be fair. So I kind of didn't mind listening to it. It was all right to listen to, but there weren't any standout tracks for me. There's not one song I would really want to particularly want to, well, certainly wouldn't want to put it to my playlist and wouldn't overly even want to listen to them again. But it was just nice to listen to an album that was listenable, yeah, like in the sense of, you know, there's nothing to really dislike about any of the songs. And I think what I'm trying to say is, no matter what sort of genre of music you like, you're not going to hate this. You know, it's universal, should we say?
That's probably a good way to do it. Yeah.
So, and also I would like to add as well, there was a bit of variety on the album. It wasn't like every song was the same. So let's go through the first song, Faith. So kind of caught me by surprise at the beginning with this kind of like wedding music, right, wedding bell music, which I didn't know was on that track. And then suddenly it just became the classic song that I know, that everyone knows. Listen, it's a good, solid song. Tambourine. I'm terrible with instruments, by the way, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like a tambourine in the background. And then almost country music like towards the end as well, the instrumentals. I mean, you said earlier in the introduction you've never been a huge fan of Faith. Neither have I.
Okay.
But it's just one of those songs that's, you know, always played on the radio and stuff. Just a song that I know well, that is all right. Don't mind it. It's just quite catchy. It's all right. Nothing more to say on it really, other than that. What about you?
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed up everything I would have probably said and more actually. Let me just be clear. I do think this is a good song, and I thought what I was going to finish with. I'll start with it. I appreciate the song more now. Probably listen to the album. I think, as you're saying, it's just one of those songs that just gets so overplayed, and maybe overplayed a bit too much. And I think the cliche, and probably only you'll probably relate to this, you know, certain nights out in clubs, you go into a certain part of the club, certain music comes on, and this one will always come on. And because it's not that fast, it's not slow, it's not super fast, it's that sort of in between. So it's always awkward to do, and it's just overplayed. But I said I love the sort of country feel too. I did appreciate the song more after listening to it on the album. And it's a good opening. It's a good, strong opening. It's a good song. But then, did I still overly absolutely love it? No, but I do appreciate it more than I probably did before. And as you said, yeah, a good, solid song on the album.
Okay, so the next one then. There's a fair bit of pressure on this one. Father figure after the comment in the the comment in the comment section. So kind of whispery kind of singing to start with. There was some women backing, which became very clear and obvious. Not much happening so far. It's obviously very early on. I found it a bit gospel-like with the backers. So far, finding it a bit underwhelming. I didn't mind the part when it livens up with the backing group, but otherwise, I found this a little bit boring, to be honest. It was quite a long song, so over 5 minutes, I think. But overall, a bit disappointing. It's not bad, but just nothing really to shout about for me.
Mm-hmm. So I actually know this song and know it very well. Well, I say I know it very well, obviously not well enough to recognise what it was called. But I would say I do recognise the song fairly well. I just didn't put the title together. I think maybe because most songs it does get played. Faith is probably played instead of this one. So I was quite familiar with it. And I have always liked this song as well. And it's probably because it doesn't get played all the time. I really do like it. And I think when I said at the start, as a almost pre-warning that it could be artistic, I didn't know about the album, didn't know what it was going to be like. And I think this is where you see, because I said this George Michael stuff I do like is a little bit later on in his life. And I think from this album, you'll see there is that kind of transition. So this particular song is probably more, again, I'm using the word artistic. Artistic is probably not the right word, but it's not your sort of safe commercial 80s poppy kind of thing. It's a bit different, we'd probably say. That's where he does a bit more sort of later on. So I actually really like this song, but I said I did recognise it, and I think maybe it's one of those after a few listens, and you probably didn't help where you had the added pressure from the comments about it being a standout song. So that probably doesn't help so much. But I think if you gave it time, you learn to. Another good thing about this and some of the other songs, well, you really start to appreciate George Michael's voice. So I don't think a lot of people realise actually how good a singer he is, or maybe they do. Maybe that's just my imagination. But he's a real good singer, and I think this showcases it a bit more than some of the other 80s poppy songs we'll get to.
So then we had I Want Your Sex. This was part 1 and 2. So maybe you know this. It's just like 2 songs combined together, like part 1 and part 2, they combined.
Yeah, I don't know actually. Trying to look a bit more research into that. I thought it might, maybe because I thought maybe it'd be blatantly obvious between like part 1 and part 2. It felt like all part of the same song, so I couldn't tell. But it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. It was a released song, so I get the feeling maybe it was a case of maybe just half of it was released for radio potentially. But I am just guessing at that.
Okay, so yeah, it was over 9 minutes, I seem to remember. So I was wondering what such a long song is going to offer. Another female backing. And this is going to be a common theme. Not the first time I'm going to say this. Sounds similar to Michael Jackson. I don't know if you think the same, but has a distinct 80s feel to it. Some strange lyrics like sex is natural, sex is fun. Feels like quite a fun song, like not to be taken too seriously. I don't know if there is a deeper meaning behind it. And then I put down here, unlike what you just said, now feels very different. So probably part 2. So I did feel a change. Overall, quite a funky song overall, but because it's so long, I did find that it was dragging on a bit and a little bit sex overkill. Too much of that word sex. I don't know, just got my nerves a little bit, but yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, so I put sort of my notes here, very 80s. I haven't referenced Michael Jackson in this one. I have referenced him in upcoming song, but I do remember the song, and I do agree with you, the comments on that one there. Kind of put here, it almost feels like it's meant to be like almost like funny parody song. It feels like a bit of a laugh in itself, in a like a children's education song. It also reminds me that there was quite a lot of sort of sex songs like this, sort of like in the 80s. The ones sort of come to mind, not change of different, so like I Want to Sex You Up, like by Salt-N-Pepa, and Colour Me Bad did a song about sex as well. Or Let's Talk About Sex is that one as well. So I think it's sort of an in thing, which we know probably from the 80s, and AIDS and that stuff. So also comes in. I put about the women singing as well, like that part there. Yeah, I think it went on a bit too long, but like I said, that's why I'm trying to think of it. Maybe it's 2 different songs. Love the 80s sort of sound effects to it. I think it's not to be taken too seriously. Seeing more as an educational thing. And yeah, sex was probably mentioned a fair few times.
Okay. So then we moved on to One More Try. Unexpected to start with this one. This was a slow number, which I think was good for variety. I was just wondering though, is it gonna like really get going at any point? I just felt like it needed a little boost somewhere for me to say I actually liked it. It was a nice song, but I just felt something was lacking for me. And for such a long song, I just felt it could have offered more. So yeah, thumbs up for being a slow song, just giving it something different. But yeah, wasn't overly impressed with it.
Okay. Yeah, I like this one. Again, it's probably my association of his latest stuff where he does, it's not so 80s and so poppy. Again, because I feel like I appreciate his voice. I feel like I could hear the lyrics, get feeling from the lyrics on this one as well. Merry Christmas one, it is a long song, but it didn't feel as long as even like I Want Your Sex song or other songs we've done where it felt like they've been shorter and felt longer. So This is one I would actually consider for my playlist personally, but yeah, a little bit different. And I think, like I say, it just accentuates his voice and the lyrics more than the others.
Next one was Hard Day. So I put down here, not much to say about this one. So I'm listening to it and just don't have much to say. I was like, what can I write down? I don't know. I did write some stuff down in the end. Funky background music. Michael Jackson vibes again, especially with the owl part. Unexpected ending with a woman sort of singing / rapping, and that was definitely for me the best bit of the song. That's the only part where I actually like, oh, okay, this is pretty good. Whereas the rest of it was a bit meh, just a bit boring. So you got better towards the end.
So this is where I've started referencing sort of Michael Jackson. I said, it just reminds me of track 3, I Want to Sex Thing. Again, very 80s, poppy, funky, I think is a good word in there as well. Lots of different sound effects. And yeah, nice change with the sort of the female singing / rapping bit as well. So yeah, I think, again, just a good 80s song for the album.
So up next, we had Hand to Mouth. Another song I'm struggling to make notes about. This one is possibly a bit better than most of the others. I just felt a little bit more catchy, especially the Hand to Mouth chorus part. And there was a long instrumental at the end just to see the song out. So yeah, not much to say on it other than that. I just felt the chorus stood out on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of what the first thing to put here. It's almost like a catchy chorus, a sort of hand to mouth kind of thing. I felt like I recognise this song. Now, whether I've heard it before, potentially, I don't know, but not as well as the first 2 tracks. But it did sound familiar, whether it sounded like another song. Otherwise, yeah, there wasn't much more to say. The lyrics seemed a bit more prominent in this one. This one felt like a good blend between the sort of slower, more meaningful songs and the sort of funny, poppy ones as such. I think it's sort of a good blend between the two. But yeah, nice sort of catchy chorus was the sort of key feature on this one.
Then we had Look at Your Hands. I felt this one was quite jazzed up. Just a standard pop song that isn't particularly grabbing my attention. I did then hear a woman's voice in there as well, as has been the case for a lot of these songs. Again, that Michael Jackson, ow, again. So that's all I can say on that one.
Yeah, I haven't got a lot to say on this one as well. I kind of feel I had a bit of sort of a country upbeat feel to it. Getting some good sound effects, very 80s. I liked it, just not as much as some of the other ones we've had already.
So we had Monkey, yet again, as a woman's voice in there. Similar to the previous song in a way, nothing really grabs my attention. Seems like the song is about to finish after about 2.5, 2 3/4 minutes, but then has a little instrumental part and continues. So I was thinking we're going to get a change up because it is, quite a long song. I think it was over 5 minutes, but it didn't change up really. It just continued in the same way. So I just felt the song for what it was too long in the end.
So again, it's probably a bit too long. Realised getting to sort of the 80s, really went straight into the song as well. I've also played some good singing / rhyming elements to it there. It's more intrigued by sort of the title with sort of the monkey side of things, because I know there's lots of other songs that seem to refer to monkeys and stuff. And after Lister did a bit of digging this one, and the monkey is meant to represent drug and alcohol addiction. So there's a line like, "Do you like monkey or do you love me?" So sort of talking about someone who's obviously more into their drugs and alcohol rather than them. So which made me think about some of the other ones, as poppy, and there's probably some George Michael, probably a real sort of deep meaning with lots of them as well, which probably might have helped songs along the way, really.
So The next track, Kissing a Fool, is that your final song?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was on Spotify, I listened to it. There was a 10th track, but that wasn't on our list from the Wikipedia thing. Good. Okay, just checking. So last track, which I didn't listen to, by the way. I just stopped at this one. So Kissing a Fool was the last track. This was very different. So slow ballad coming up, it seems. I've put here a bit Frank Sinatra-like, kind of like lounge / jazz bar music. Nice enough song to end the album on. I do like it when an album does kind of end in a kind of nice, relaxed, soft way. I've said that before. So very different to anything else on the album. However, I still wouldn't have this on my playlist or anything. It's not a song that I particularly liked in that sense, but just I liked the fact it was just different. It was a nice way to end the album.
Exactly the same lines here. I think we've spoken about loads of times. I've been very much like you. I feel like an album, not all albums have to, but I think they're much better when they have that sort of a slower or more powerful, more meaningful song at an end of an album, really. I don't know what that is. I just seems to work a lot better than that. I also put sort of the jazz feel to this, and this reminds me of one of the albums I do like, George Michael's, called Older, and I think you'll find a lot of the songs are more similar to like this or Father Figure earlier on as well. And like I said with the other ones, the slow ones, it just accentuates how nice and how good his voice is, and you just feel a bit more sort of emotion and meaning and feeling to this one. But like you, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily put this one on a playlist, but it's again a very good song for the album. And like I said, just showcases George Michael, because if people didn't know enough of them, they'd probably just maybe think of like the songs like Your Faith and other sort of popular ones and not this side of it.
Okay, well, that concludes our album review. So we're just going to sum things up. So for me, yeah, like I said in the beginning, I did enjoy the album in a way. I enjoyed listening to it just to kind of, understand more about George Michael's music. So I didn't really know anything about it. Obviously knew the song Faith. There's probably some other songs of his that I know as well. But as an album, it's definitely the first time listening to his stuff. So like I said, doesn't mean I've now like his music as such, but just good to listen to it, understand kind of what this album is about. So yeah, it was, decent enough for me without being anything spectacular. What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I think like you, very similar. Probably maybe like that a little bit more, but I said I do like latest music. I do like George Michael as well. So, but yeah, like as you said, and your introduction was good. Like it was nice to have like a good. I can't remember the exact wordings of it, but a not niche album and a very, I know I keep putting the same sort of like commercial pop, kind of easy listening to in his way. Not too long, bit of variation to it. It just had everything that I think you were the same, like from an album. Would more than happy listen to this again. Like I said, there would be one or two songs I would potentially have on a playlist. So yeah, overall, it's definitely a good thumbs up, and it's definitely not down the low end of the pile. That's for sure.
Okay, so there we go. That's the end of our album review. Keep the requests coming, and we'll see you again soon for the next one. Bye-bye.